Hello everyone, glad you can join me here again today. It's been a little while since our last video, and where does the time go? But I wanted to make sure that I made a video before the big event that's coming up in a couple of weeks, which is the Democratic primary debates. And I believe Andrew Yang is going to be on the second night of debates, which is going to be Thursday, June 27th. And I know you're going to be watching it, I'm going to be watching it, and we're going to make a video to analyze it and do some analysis, and it'll be a great time. But today I wanted to talk about two things that have been quite remarkable to me, and that is Andrew Yang's appearance on the Bill Maher show and Andrew Yang's appearance on Dave Rubin. And there's been two things, more than anything specifically that he said, two things that really stood out to me. So the first thing we want to talk about is Andrew Yang on Bill Maher. So let's buckle our seatbelts and strap in. Got the big Deer Park water today, so important to stay hydrated. I like a good big water bottle, and it's actually kind of funny. There's a little bit of serendipity here. We have one for yin, one for yang. I don't know what that means, but I think it's kind of neat. Serendipity is always cool. But Andrew Yang on the Bill Maher show. More than anything specifically that he said, there was one thing that he didn't say, which really stood out to me. And that was, he did not say any filler words. No filler words in the entire interview, which was remarkable to me, because if you remember in a few videos prior, I had talked about a little bit of a minor issue, just a minor issue with the filler words that Andrew Yang uses in interviews. And the fact that he was able to go on Bill Maher and use absolutely no filler words, that stood out to me. And it's not so much the filler words themselves, it's the rate of improvement that really stood out to me. The thing that's so interesting about Andrew Yang as a candidate is that he's a very dynamic type of campaigner. And dynamic in the sense that he's getting better from week to week. Some politicians, they're the same the first day as they are the last day. There's no improvement, there's nothing that really changes. But Andrew Yang seems to be getting better and better as time goes on. He seems to be getting more and more attention, more and more energy, and he's more and more clear with his platform and expressing his ideas. And that's something that I don't think any other candidate has. Has there been any candidate who has been getting better from week to week? I'm not sure if I've seen that. There's been candidates who have flashes here and there, but there's no steady rate of improvement. And if you think about this from a startup perspective, which of course Andrew Yang knows about because he's a startup type of guy, but if you think about this from a startup perspective, it's not about where you start. It's not about how many users you start with. It's not about how much money you have in the bank. It's really about your rate of improvement and how quickly you're able to learn and adapt to new circumstances, adapt to a new environment. And Andrew Yang seems to be the only candidate who has the ability to get better and better over time. And I thought the Bill Maher interview was the perfect example of that, because it seemed to be the best interview yet, as far as clearly expressing his ideas, going into a new arena, something he's never done before, and really capitalizing on the opportunity. No filler words at all. I thought that was fantastic. I don't know if they used the technique that we talked about in the video prior, and if you don't know what the technique is, then go watch the video. But it was really something that stood out to me, just this fact of rate of improvement week over week. The other thing that stood out to me was Andrew Yang's appearance on Dave Rubin. And tell me if I'm wrong, but was there anyone before me who said that Andrew Yang should go on Dave Rubin? I think I was the first person that I saw at least talk about it. And there were some people who disagreed with me on Twitter and in the YouTube comments. They said, stay away from Dave Rubin, don't go on the alt-right show, or whatever reason they had. And if you were one of those people, then I would just like to ask, if you watched the interview, do you think that that was a good interview or a bad interview? Because for me, when I watched the interview, I thought that that was a really good interview. I mean, it was a good look at Andrew Yang as a person. The questions, I believe, were fair. It was a long-form discussion, which is really the arena that Andrew Yang operates the best in. It's difficult to go on CNN and MSNBC and Fox and talk about his platform, because what he really needs is he needs enough time to establish what the problem really is and then offer his solution. And it's tough to do that in a 6-minute block segment. He really does the best on shows like Bill Maher and Dave Rubin and Joe Rogan, where he has enough time to really properly express the problem that it is that he's trying to solve. And by the way, I have my Yang Gang hat on, Yang Wave, Yang 2020. It's pretty cool. I love this hat. Maybe backwards. Is backwards cool? No, not so cool. Okay, we'll go forwards. Yeah, that's cool. But it's really the type of environment that Andrew Yang operates best in, is these long form sorts of interviews. And if you're Andrew Yang, it's really tough to turn down a platform of 1 million subscribers. Dave Rubin has 1 million subscribers, and whenever you're trying to bring people into the fold, especially ideologically speaking, whenever you're trying to bring more people in, you have to go to people who don't already agree with you. That's the only way that you're going to grow. And the temptation is to talk to people who already agree with you. And politicians fall into that temptation all the time. They go to places where they know they're popular, they talk to their supporters, and they get a whole bunch of cheers, and it feels great in the moment, but you're not doing anything to really grow your base. You have to go to people who don't already agree with you. One of the institutions that does this the best is specifically Christianity, but religious institutions. So Christianity and Islam, the two biggest religions, they're big on converting people into their faith. And at least in Christianity, which I can speak about because I have some background in it, there's a big idea, something that you want to avoid, something you want to stay away from, and that is the idea of preaching to the choir. You don't want to preach to the choir, because if you're a pastor or a minister, preaching to the people in the congregation, you have to do that, that's good, but it's not doing anything to really grow the amount of people in the faith, in the congregation. You don't want to bring the message of, let's say, the message of salvation or repentance or, Christian doctrine. You don't want to bring that to the people who already agree with you if you're looking to grow. You don't want to preach to the choir, the people that already agree with you. In politics, you want to bring your message to people who don't already agree with you. And that's why it's so important that he goes on shows like Dave Rubin or shows like on Fox or on Joe Rogan, because this gives him the unique opportunity to bring his message to people who may have never heard of him ever before, but people who might be open and receptive to his platform, because these are people who are open to the world of ideas. If you're watching Joe Rogan, if you're watching Dave Rubin, then you like hearing other people's opinions, you like hearing people's ideas, you like seeing that exchange back and forth. And what's also really interesting is there's a little bit of Sun Tzu art of war going on, because Andrew Yang is the only candidate who seems to be able to go onto these shows. Remember when Pete Buttigieg tried to go on Dave Rubin? He kind of got bullied out of it, didn't he? It was something that was really expressed strongly that he should not go on that show and do not even entertain the idea of going on Dave Rubin. And so, Sun Tzu Art of War, you want to go where your opponents are not. You want to occupy ground that is going to be advantageous to you, somewhere where your opponents are not going to go. And he seems to be, at least as far as I can see, the only candidate who can go and have these sorts of long-form discussions, who can have these sorts of exchanges with people from all across the political aisle. And at least for me, if you're looking at a candidate who is electable in the general election, you want someone who can talk to both sides of the aisle. Because most people, they aren't hyper-partisan. They just want the person who can do the best job and the person who's going to listen to them. You can't be running for only one subset of people and expect to do well, at least in a general election. In a primary, it's different, but in a general election, you need to have a message that appeals to everyone. And so far, it seems like Andrew Yang is the only one who is able to do that. And I think that that's going to be paying dividends over time. It's going to compound with interest. The rewards are going to compound with interest. And that's something that's really fascinating to see. So those two big events were things that really stood out to me. And I'm sure there's other things that have been going on which are very exciting. He's been holding a lot of rallies, been getting great reception at the rallies, but it's this steady rate of improvement over time the fact that he seems to be getting better and better as time goes on, he's growing more and more people are coming into the fold, and he's a rather dynamic politician, or, well, becoming a politician more and more. But he's a rather dynamic character in the fact that this rate of improvement is something that you really can't ignore. His ceiling gets higher and higher every day. And so that's something that I think we have to be taking a look at. But that's all I really have today. I just wanted to recap those two events. And if you're still watching, thank you very much. You are a true supporter of grassroots media. I guess that's what you would call this. And I'm trying to find a way to really make sure that I have as much time as possible to make these sorts of videos and make them bigger and better and do a whole big production. I would love to do that, but it does take a little bit of time to be able to do that, and I would love to do it. I have a lot of fun doing this. But some people have expressed interest, and I hate to even bring it up, but some people have expressed interest in supporting the show and donating to the show and having more content like this, and I'm trying to find the best way to do this. But if you have any ideas of how to best do it, I know people have told me to stay away from Patreon, and I get the backstory behind that. I totally understand, but I'm trying to find a good way to do that, and I'm not sure what the best way is. But I'd like to make a lot more videos. I have one coming up the end of this week, which I think is going to be really interesting, which is the future of education, which is something I've been really interested in. If you've been following my Twitter feed at ReadyBrianRoss, then I've been talking a little bit about that. But I'll drop a PayPal link in the description, and if you feel led and you want to support the show, then that'd be fantastic. And if there's a good response, then we can do this. Who knows, maybe even full time. That'd be exciting. We can make a lot more videos then. But I wanted to just thank you all so much who have been watching the videos. It's been just a fantastic journey, and it's just getting started. I can't wait for the debates. That's going to be a good time. I'd like to live stream the debates. I don't know. You tell me if that would be a good idea. But either way, we'll be doing some analysis on that. But that's all we had for today. I'll save the Killer Yang and Joe Biden topic for maybe the next video. I would like to talk about that, but we're kind of running towards the end of our time. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.